Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
All right, here we are again. How are you doing, Satya?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. I feel like I haven't seen the sunlight in a little while. We're underneath these studio lights.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird, I just kind of losing touch with what's happening out there in the world, but we're getting it done.
We are getting a lot done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead and read what you got there for us. We got a DM that came to you, I believe, and this is the topic we're going to cover for the podcast today.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to keep this person anonymous because this was a personal message, but I thought it was a really good one to share with our audience.
Sure.
And really appreciate this person for writing in. I'm a fitness professional. My training age is 8 years, but I struggle to get results. I'm really good at prescribing workouts and advice and following through with clients. But for my personal fitness, it always seems like a cycle of jumping from different training plans, body dysmorphia, lack of consistency in nutrition, and a history of overtraining. Should I hire a coach? I should be better than where I am. So they have also done some of our ebooks, and they're going to commit to those, but they feel frustrated and have hesitated on reaching out. And they just wanted a little guidance.
Well, thanks for writing in.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a pretty common thing in the fitness industry.
Very.
I mean, I was listening to that. I was like, oh, that's me. That's me. Oh yeah, that's me. And I feel like that might be the case in a lot of different service industries. Or it's like, hey, I'm a chef, but I just hate to cook for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not cooking good food for myself. Doctors need doctors. You don't take care of yourself as a physician. You don't even take care of your own family members. There's conflicts there.
Yeah.
And in health and fitness, I don't know. The health and fitness community is just, it's rampant. It's, it sounds like this particular person has had, is like their error or their default pattern is to like maybe push themselves too hard. But in a lot of fitness environments, I see trainers who really just aren't taking care of themselves at all. They're not working out. They're out on the gym floor and they're doing 15 hours, 12 hours a day of personal training and splitting their shifts and not sleeping well and not even making room for their own workouts and eating well, and they're just kind of not living, walking the talk,
right,
so to speak.
Yeah.
And and it's just really, it's a real bummer. I mean, same thing you see with healthcare professionals, doctors who are really unhealthy and overweight and trying to tell patients to do something different for themselves. And so it's not uncommon, for sure. And I think it just, with any job where the hours that you put in are often, like, it's not just like a one-to-one, like I put in an hour of work with a client. It's like you put in an hour of work with a client, there was time prepping for it. There's a huge emotional and mental investment that goes into that time. You're thinking about that person outside of those hours. So it's like, it's a lot of output. And that can really be draining when it comes time to like take care of yourself. You're like, I just don't want to do it. Like, I don't, I said this I was saying this not too long ago, but like, I can't, I'm so focused on developing and growing the functional bodybuilding training method and our persist programs and what I'm giving out to my clients that I'll spend all of my time physically just trialing and testing and just like taking pieces of different stuff and doing it. And I was like, I haven't followed like an actual program for like longer than 4 or 6 weeks I can't even remember how long. Like I don't write out my own program, and like I haven't done that for myself. And so I'm guilty of it, or I'm not guilty of it. I'm just like, I can fall victim to that too. And this is coming from somebody who's had many coaches in his, time in his history. So I think that just want to normalize that this is like, you're not alone. A lot of people this is happening to, and yeah, there is certainly a huge value that could be gained from hiring a coach.
Yeah. I want to add that I think there's a layer where people are giving and giving and giving to their athletes, to their clients, to the people who they serve in their profession. And then there's a little bit, sometimes a layer of self-judgment when you're giving everyone else the advice. And so you think to yourself, oh, well, I know what I should be doing. I certainly have the knowledge to take an ebook or take a training program or just look at this thing and extrapolate or to write my own program. But I feel like there's an additional piece there where because you know what you need to do doesn't mean that that's the best way to support yourself or that you are able to fully support yourself in executing that. And what I said to this person in reply was that there's something really special about having a coach who knows that experience of what it's like to be a coach and who's in that role for you of being the one to support you the same way that you do for your athletes. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, having the knowledge and then executing that, there's a big gap between it. It's like one of our goals with our customers and our clients is to teach them as much as we possibly can about training. And not because we want them to learn so much that they don't need us anymore. In fact, we want them to learn so much that when they actually experience what we have to offer, they can get that much more value from it. And yeah, the knowledge doesn't necessarily, touch on the accountability factor that is so important to seeing, success. It's like, I know what to do, but it's like, well, who am I being accountable to? I just accountable to myself. And that, some people say, oh, that's all you need. It's like, well, it's not all you need for a lot of people. Sometimes an outside accountability tool is really, really impactful. Yeah. And then, when you think if you're the coach, think about how often, the big obstacle that somebody is facing is right in front of them. They just can't see it. Mm-hmm. But because you're about, you're 2 steps removed, you're like, don't you see? Like, that's the thing. You don't make them feel, you don't make them feel bad for not realizing it themselves.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, you compassionately point it out to them. Mm-hmm. You bring this thing that's so clear to you into focus for them, and then get them to realize, like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, every day at about 3 p.m., like, I have this major energy dip and I have a lot of stress coming up in my day. I have to, like, navigate this parenting role, like, that is just hard for me. And I'm constantly eating Swedish fish then. My gosh, I didn't even connect the dots there. Maybe I need to have a protein snack with me on hand that I can reach for in those moments. And that is the big win. And but yeah, having somebody a little bit detached from your daily experience can be enough. Yep. And then also we all have our own biases. Like, this person mentioned, like, their propensity to overtraining. I'm thinking about one of our coaches who recently hired a coach outside of our company to help them with their training. And they were commenting to me, like, it's remarkable just how little my program changes. It's the same thing every week. I was like, well, how is that working for you? It's like, I would have changed 10 things by now. Mm-hmm. I would have done this and that. And, like, that's my bias. But it's working great. I'm really glad I'm just doing the same thing over and over again and just trying to get a little stronger. It's like, cool. So by working with somebody who's not, your own brain, you're going to get an opportunity to, like, sort of navigate around your own bias and your own, the mistakes that you might make with yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So I have this theory where if you're asking yourself the question, should I hire a coach? yes, absolutely, you should hire a coach.
Yeah.
But I want to break it down and see if you have instances where this person should definitely hire a coach and this person should maybe like think about X, Y, or Z before they hire a coach, or, you know.
Yeah. I'm kind of agree with what you're saying. But I think the instance where somebody should not hire a coach is if they, and this came from years and years of doing consults and meeting new people and having them come through. It's like, you know, hey, what's your goal? I don't know. Just want to be like, you know, a little fitter. It's like, okay, well, I want you to go think about that a little bit more deeply. And yeah, like having a consultation with a coach or like getting some advice. But like if you're looking for a coach to basically give you direction and tell you like this is what you should do, that ends up not working. You like, and if that coach is not capable of like helping bring it out in you yourself, that's a bad situation.
Yeah.
And I see this happen quite a bit. It's like, I just showed up. I kind of just wanted to be like, you know, healthy and fit. And this coach just like took me in and we got started right away. And next thing you know, I'm training for a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
It's like, is that what you want to do? Like, do you even care about that? You know, because if you don't, then at some point this is going to become a major conflict for you. You're going to end up having to do things that are quite difficult. And you don't have a lot of conviction about this end goal. This is their goal for you, you know? So that's where I think, you know, hiring a coach can get a little tricky. It's like, are they there to serve your goals and your needs and what you are chasing? Or did you come in so disconnected from that, they maybe weren't oriented to help you you know, sort of uncover it for yourself. They just sort of injected their own, well, this is working for other people I'm working with, so let's roll. And that's not a knock on the coach. It's just like they haven't maybe evolved to the place where they, you know, meet you with what your needs are right now. So I would say that that's a big no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about when I hired Shauna, and I was so specific about what I wanted.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, and that coach, a good coach, I think loves that. They're like, hell yeah.
I know exactly how to get you there.
I know where the goalposts are. I can keep it inside of that.
Yeah.
Maybe the other one is, you know, hiring a coach, but you're not ready to like really give up control.
That's right. I was going to say like something around thinking that the coach is going to be like the magic wand.
I think having a successful relationship with a coach comes down to like, can you articulate what your goals are? Be super clear about where you want to go. Be super clear about communicating your feedback and how things are feeling for you as you move along, but be completely like fully surrendered to like whatever they tell you is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that like, you know, if the coach says jump off a bridge, you shouldn't be like, oh, is this a good idea? But
yeah,
you know, you have to be able to like ask questions. But if you're trying to coach yourself while they're, you know, like if you're trying to do it yourself while they're doing it,
that's right.
It's a waste of, I think, everyone's time.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I got to with my relationship to coaches, was that like, I just was like too curious myself to like do things on my own, you know, that I moved past like I have a crystal clear goal. I'm surrendering to you as my guide to get there, and I will do whatever you tell me to do. I will be the best reporter of feedback. I'll do all the things that you say and present all the data to you, and I'll periodically make, you know, not a suggestion, but like I'll surface something that I think is important to your job, but if you tell me to do this, I'm doing it. And that was how I was for basically 7 years as a CrossFit athlete. And then there were like 2 more years after that I continued to get coaching. And towards the tail end of it, I was like, you know, I don't have a crystal clear goal anymore. I'm not chasing this performance goal anymore. I like what we're doing. I like the idea of not having to think about it as much. And I just, when it's time for me, I just open my fitness app and I'm just doing what they tell me to do. But now I'm starting to want to like play around with like these concepts and, maybe I actually do want to do this. And, that was when I was like, okay, it's time for me to pump the brakes. So I think that's important, to be ready to like release control.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to be ready for is that if you really do give the reins to your coach, in 3 months, in 6 months, your outlook will be very, very different from what it is today. You may be a very different person. You may feel like a different person, or you just may have a much different orientation to your particular fitness path because your coach has brought in their own framework for you to follow, and that can open your eyes to new information. And I think that sometimes that fear of, is coaching right for me, comes from, am I ready to accept the unknown future versus the future that I can predict based on my past 3-6 months of what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. I like that thought. Yeah, when you can give yourself over to the process, that's when you can really just you
can transform.
Totally transform. Yeah. Well, what else? Should this person hire a coach? What's your take on where they're at this moment?
Yes. I mean, my advice to them was, yes, absolutely hire a coach. Because what I said was basically along those same lines. I said, even if you just commit to the process for 6 months, which is, I think, the minimum contract that we have. We love to work with people for a year with our coaching service, but I think 6 months is a really good length of time to get to know your coach and go through the process and see what those changes bring for you. Yeah. I said, even if at that point you decide that it's not right for you to continue, you will have learned so much and gained a new perspective and gotten out of this situation that's obviously very painful for you to be in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was listening to that, I was definitely like, hey, this is definitely something that's right for you. And, particularly if it sounds like this person is, I don't know, from just the way that they talk and the way that they ask the questions, like they put a lot of care into their work and to their clients. And, like this is a conversation I had to have a lot with coaches over the years. Like, you deserve to have that too. And think about what you give to your clients that goes beyond sets and reps and macros. Like, you're not just like a knowledge beacon that just imparts, these like information, nuggets upon their fitness journey. You support them in a different way too. And it's like, maybe that's what you need from a coach. I'd say most often coaches that get to work with one of our coaches, they're never like, oh my God, I never thought like of doing it that way. They're just like, oh, like this is, I know this is how I'm supposed to do it. And it just gives them more confidence in what they would have maybe tried to do themselves, but they just didn't take the time to do it. And that's a really good feeling too. As a coach, like, to sort of reinforce what and it's a place where you can like really derive a lot of confidence from as a coach too. Yeah. And, again, also if you're a coach, the added benefit is, you see coaching through one lens, usually your own. And having a coach or having a couple of different coaches over the course of many years, like, this was really valuable for me growing as a coach too. None of my coaches that I had was I want to be exactly like this person. I was like, I want to be my own person. I want to be my own style of coach. I want to have my own ideas, but I love this about how you did this. I love the way you did this. And I love the way that you did this, and help me to just become a better, professional too. Yeah. It's kind of ongoing, continuing education. Yep. Yeah. So what would somebody do? What's the first step if they are going to hire a coach?
Well, absolutely. They should go to functional-bodybuilding.com and get in touch with us there. We obviously have a team of coaches that work with athletes and lots of other coaches, one-on-one. So that's a service we provide. Other people provide it, but I like to think that we're the best. So
yeah.
Hey.
And maybe something else like, I would encourage people to like sort of look at different resources too, or different sources of coaching, and
sure.
sort of interview people in a way. It's like, go out and find a couple people that you resonate with. So a couple people that you might look up to. Maybe you check out their social media accounts and you're like, oh, this person's speaking my language. And then try and have a conversation with them, and in that conversation, does this person match up with what I think that they're all about? And when you're hiring a coach, be super clear, like really make sure you understand, like, what do I get from this relationship and what do I not get from this relationship? Because it's the mismatch of expectations and the delivery of your coaching. That's where the most sticking points come up for clients. Like, oh, I thought I was going to get this, but I'm not, versus coming in and be like, I'm going to get this. And, oh, they added that in. That was a nice touch. Like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So really just make sure you're clear on that, and, spend some time before you go into that interview or to the new process of getting connected with a coach, like trying to really spell out, like, what do you want to accomplish? What would success look like in 6 months for you? And that could be a physical goal, or it could just be like, for 6 months, I didn't overtrain. And when I got close, like my coach caught it and I was just in a consistency mode. Like, that's a goal. The second goal is like, I want to reintroduce, weightlifting back into my life. I've just gravitated so much towards like conditioning and cardio because it's like easy and simple and I can get it done fast, but like I've gotten away from my weight training roots and like I want that back. So like you just make some very clear and sort of measurable goals for yourself before you start that process of finding the coach. Because when you say that to the coach, they should be able to hear that. Be like, okay, I hear what you want to do is this. Here's what I think would help get us there. This is how my approach to doing that. Yeah. Because when you hear their approach, you're going to be like, oh, I get that. I resonate with that. Yeah. If this person's like, oh, you want to lift weights? We should do a show. We should do a show in June. Let's do it. You ready? You're like, no, I don't think so. Like, it's not what I mean by like wanting to lift weights more. Yeah. Yeah. So those would be good ways to kind of come into the process of like, so now I know I want to go get a coach. How am I going to pick a good coach? Yeah.
I also think it's good to make sure that you understand what the expectation is for you to give your coach what they need specifically, because we're in a remote coaching setting and we provide training through an app, and some clients just check a box like, okay, yeah, it was on the list, I did it. Yeah. But there's no feedback of like, well, how did that feel? And what weight did you use last time versus this time? And give me some more information and context so that I can help. Because sometimes people just assume that coaches know, but obviously they're not psychic to know how that training actually felt on your body when they weren't in the room even watching you.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done an episode in the past, probably a couple, on what it means to be a good client. Yeah. What does an A client do? And so it's worth going and searching for that if you're interested in like, how do I make the most of this? Because one part of it is obviously the coach, but the other part is the client and what you bring to the relationship. And yeah, I do think that asking those questions as you're hiring a coach is like, how can I be the best client possible? How can I get the most out of this? Like, that one question should get you some really good information from your coach or your potential coach. And if they're like, oh, just, do your workouts, like, then they're not either evolved enough and they're not thinking enough about like, well, what are my best, the people that have the most success have these things in common. Oh, well, you should, let's make sure we never miss a consultation every month. I want you to make sure you spend this time, with me, because the more face-to-face time we have, the better. Please, like every day that you're in the gym, log something about your workout. Give me as much feedback as you can. I want you to ask questions on this day of the week before you start your training, because that's going to help. I want to make sure you have answers to your training before you get there. Like, they should be able to lay out some really important things that are going to make you get a lot out of the experience. And probably when you have that playbook from your coach, you're going to be like, oh, now I'm fired up to do this. Like, I have my homework assignment. If I check these boxes, like, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much handles the question, should you hire a coach?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And if you have further questions on the topic of being coached remotely, in person, sort of what we've learned for the past 7 years, 8 years of doing this, send us messages. And if you're getting coaching from somebody out there, and there's something that they do that you love and it's been really impactful, we'd love to hear those things too. So send us that kind of feedback.
Yep.
And until next time, go find your limits and push them.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.